The first thing I wanted to talk about is breakdowns. I was approached this weekend by a friend who is going through a very hard time. I think if you asked him, he wouldn't say he's going through a very hard time. I think he would say that he is in a pit, that he is not going through anything, but he feels like he is just, everything has fallen apart. Many of the things that he attached stability and comfort on, relationships, jobs, place to live, these things have evaporated. And in that vacuum, he's really struggling to the point of questioning the point of it all. And it was interesting when he approached me, I kind of had almost a smile on my face. I mean, clearly he's going through one of the toughest times of his life. And I just had a little smile on my face. And I realized that I have faith. I know it's going to be okay. And so I talked to him a little bit about that. And I talked to him about how just recently, another friend of mine who 2 years ago had his life fall apart. And he would tell that story quite frequently. And he would say, well, like 2 years ago, my life fell apart. Well, 2 years ago, my life fell apart. Well, 2 years ago, my life fell apart. And then just a week ago, he said, you know what? I got to change my story. 2 years ago is when my life started to get better. Michael Beckwith likes to say, you got to break down so you can break through. And that is so true. You do not go from a place of pretty satisfied. There is no incentive to grow. There is no push there. You know, what is the flower when the pain of being closed is no or stronger than the fear of opening is when the flower blossoms. And that is true with us. It is these breakdowns that get us to a place of breakthrough. That doesn't mean it doesn't hurt any less, or isn't any less frustrating, or isn't any less painful, or sometimes even dark and hopeless feeling. But hopefully, by going through it enough times, by seeing people go through it, you can start to gain a little bit of faith, a little bit of heart knowledge that on the other side of the breakdown is the breakthrough. And that maybe the things that you were so attached to, that was your rock, was what was actually weighing you down. And that there may be some new, beautiful things, people, opportunities that you can't get to unless you obliterate the things that are currently in your world. Obliterate is not generally something that we seek out. And so sometimes we are aided by that. And it is these challenges that get us to where we are supposed to be as people, to help us grow, to evolve us. Any person that you admire, any person who is successful, any person who has done anything great, I would wager has a trail of failure and a trail of obliteration in their past, because you need to be able to face those obstacles, face that failure, that falling apart, in order to take the chances, to take the risk, to be pushed, to discover where and who you are in that dark place. And over time, you realize, oh, it's not as scary in this dark place as I thought. It's just me and my thoughts. And my thoughts, at one time, I thought they were the boss of me. Turns out, they're not always to be trusted. And so it is having that faith, it is having that belief that if you are sticking to yourself of integrity, then the consequences or the obstacles or the things that are happening, if you face those things with integrity, if you try to stay in a loving place and not try to go, oh, things are going bad, that means I can cut corners in my values. No, that means I need to be even more clear in my values, more in alignment with my highest self, and then have faith that the structure will form in front of me, taking a step and believing that the bridge will come. Part of that is snapping out of the mindset of everything's falling apart. It's that law of attraction thing. You can't focus on how everything's falling apart and also believe that things are going to get better. You can't set those two vibrations are at odds, and so the dominant one is going to affect how things are going. So you have to realign to that place of faith, realign to that place of, I'm going to get through this. I'm learning what I need to learn. It's going to be okay. And then if you can, try to visualize your life when everything's perfect, or what you envision it to be perfect. An exercise that I like to do is I like to write a letter or an email, either to myself or to a good friend, talking about what's going on in my life from either 6 months or a year in the future. And I learned this partially from Jacob Glass, who has a thing he calls the lunch game, where you do it with a friend and you talk to each other as if it's 6 months in the future. And you don't talk about every step of the way between now and 6 months. What you do is you talk in terms of things being figured out. So I would write about Burning Man and say, oh man, the burn was so amazing this year. I had no idea we were going to figure out how to do that lighting thing, but it was so well received and we had no problems on and people just stepped up and made it happen. And we finally figured out how to do the water delivery, period. And then just hold space for that to be figured out and the universe to kind of fill in the blanks. Jacob likes to call it, you set the UPS, you set the GPS destination and then let the GPS do its work. You don't look over its shoulder and go, no, here, go left. No, you got us lost in the first place. Just say where you want to go and then have faith. And so it's one of those things that I'm trying to practice on a day-by-day basis too. Even when you're not in that pit of ultimate despair and darkness and not sure if it's worth it, we still go in these wild fluctuations on maybe a moment-by-moment basis. We still get pulled into stories and we get attached to things. And so we need to become aware of when we're doing that. We need to start practicing and seeing it. One of the great lessons of meditation that I should be better at, and I should not use the word should, and I should, okay, reboot. One of the great things that I have learned a little bit from meditation is the practice of when you do it wrong and you start to stray and you can't stay focused or keep your mind empty and you start to have thoughts and you start to go in stories and you go, oh, I'm in a story now. Pull myself back to now. Then you go, oh, okay, I got to make sure I call back so-and-so. Oh, did he ever send me that thing? Oh, I'm off in a story. Pull myself back to now. And when you can start to get a little bit of awareness of your mind's patterns and how it does that, then when you're in a story, it's less anchoring. It's more of you go, oh, this story is totally uncomfortable. This story, I don't like this at all. I feel terrible. I'm whipping myself into an anxiety. How about this? Let me pull back to what I know to be true. And I love the Byron Katie thing of woman sitting in chair or man sitting in chair. What is true in this moment? Man sitting in chair talking to camera. Now, I go, oh my gosh, is the chat room working? Is the audio okay? Sometimes last week it didn't quite record right. No, that's a story. What do I know to be true? Man sitting in chair talking to camera. That simple task, let me take that back. That seemingly simple task, I think, is a massive tool in terms of changing your brain patterns. I speak as someone who has been suicidal a number of times in my life. I speak as someone who has been medicated for over a decade of my life for anxiety and depression, and who now feel like I have more control over my thoughts and more a blissful, higher baseline caliber experience of life than I've ever had on a non-medicated state. And so I attribute that to the accumulation of these tools, things like man seated in chair, things like crapper cone. And so it is so appreciated by me that you and I create this space once a week to remind, to recalibrate, and to practice. Thank you. Thank you. This moment that we share right now, this now of sitting in chairs, is perfect. And in that state, if we can get clear, we can feel that love come through us. And I can feel love for you outside of any story. There is no story. It is just that energetic, pure existence, that connection that I know without ever meeting you, that I love you. And I have faith in you. And I know that whatever you're going through, I believe in you, and I know that it will be a breakdown that leads to a breakthrough. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Let's have a hug. Wherever you are, grab yourself by the shoulders. We are people sitting in chairs, holding ourselves. And after a moment of gratitude for this body, let's be grateful for our obstacles and our challenges and all of the lessons in classrooms that give us the opportunity to grow. And be appreciative of all the reflections that we meet in people, especially the ones that drive us crazy, especially the ones that we think are acting like they shouldn't. That's a dangerous way to base your happiness on the reactions or even the joy of others. We desire, feels good when our actions make other people happy. But we need to go back to a place of simply making ourselves at peace and in integrity and follow our values and hope that that joy spreads. And so as we're grateful for this body, as we're grateful for the state of now, as we're grateful for all the people that allow us to grow, we're also grateful for that deep down seed of love and light that sometimes shines brightly through us, and sometimes we're barely even can remember that it's there. And so as we gather together and allow the vibration of one another to amplify one another, we try to let that light shine a little brighter. Let's pull back, go into the sky, so that we're way up there on the moon looking down at the earth. And then let's see every person, that light getting brighter and brighter and brighter in them, and just these dots blanketing the globe, getting brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter, whoosh, until we're looking at just a star, a brilliant, bright star. With each person, simply allowing that light and love to shine through them, unhampered by their issues and fears, simply allowing our lights to illuminate everyone around us. And so as we sink now back into our bodies, as our light pulls back into our chest, let's go through the week illuminating, not directing it, but simply allowing it to shine through us, and having faith that if we are in the present moment, if we are aligned with love, that light will lead the way for us and inspire others. Let's take 3 breaths together. In through the nose, out through the mouth. On behalf of Grandpa Caleb and all the Love Warriors, happy Hug Nation. Thank you for being here, allowing your love and light to shine. Thank you for being you. I love you.